What's up? What's up? What's up? Happy Indies Live, everybody. What's going on? Welcome to Indies Live on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. I hope y'all are doing well. If you're here, say what's up in the chat or in the comments on Facebook or wherever. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. I'm stoked to be here with you today. It looks like we got a ton of questions and comments, so I'm stoked to dive into it. I think this is going to be a fun one. What's up? For anybody who's new here, hey, Tommy, what's up, man? Glad you're here. Hey, Seth, what's going on? Stoked that you guys are hanging out today. For any of y'all who are new here to Indies Live, I'm Jack. I'm the agency team lead at IndieX. And on this session of Indies Live, I'm going to go through and just do a Q&A with you guys. Anything that you might be working on in your music marketing or anything, really. Ask me anything about what you've got going on with your music. I'd be happy to answer and give you some feedback, give you my thoughts, help you get through whatever blockers you're dealing with this week and get you on track to crush it through the rest of the week. That's what we do here on these Q&As. They're a lot of fun. Looks like we got a ton of questions in the comments on the watch page. From here on out, if you guys can, drop them in the chat or in the comments on Facebook. That way I can keep track of them and I don't have to keep refreshing the page. But I'm excited to get into it. Barry, what's up? How are you? Glad to have you here. I hope your week is kicking ass. Let's see what we got going on over on the Facebook. Lewis, what's going on? How's it going? I haven't got any questions apart from, hey, how are you? Hey, thanks for asking, man. I'm doing well. It's been a wonderful week so far. Oscar, how's it going? Hope you're doing well, man. Looking forward to checking out your questions. Hey, Audrey, how are you? Awesome. Well, it looks like we got a really great bunch of questions here. So I'm going to get started with the questions on the watch page here inside Indie Pro. And we'll start there, and then I'll get into the questions in the chat and the Facebook comments. We'll dive right into it. Glad you guys can hear me, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys are working on. These are always exciting sessions for me. Just kind of packs my week with a little bit of extra creativity in the middle of the week. So I'm into it. Let's see what's up. I got my coffee here, and let's get into it. Keith said, "Hello, Jack. Hope you're well. I'm a little confused as this page is showing the details for the last session with Ed, but I think I'm in the right place." You are in the right place. Suppose I'll find out soon enough. Anyway, I've been waiting for you to do a Q&A for ages as I use Aweber, and I've heard rumors that you absolutely hate it. As someone at the early stages of growing my list, around 160 subs, I'd love to know why. So far, I've found it fine to use as well as fairly cheap. As I grow my list and try to do more with it, what perils await me? That's a great question, Keith. And I'm glad you're here, man. Thanks for your patience in having me on a Q&A to ask me about why I hate Aweber. I've worked in Aweber a decent amount with clients, and I have not loved it all that much. My biggest qualms with Aweber, which I think will impact you as you grow, and as you work on building out different automations for your business and run different E-series, A-series, and really just kind of build out your email marketing infrastructure. The segmentation in Aweber I've found to be wanting. They have, segments that you can build out, and they have like a tag structure, but beyond that, that's really the bulk of what you can do. And creating segments easily with custom fields that you set up in your list is clunky, to say the least. I found it to be rather annoying when working on kind of like deep email marketing work for clients. And with that said, there's also been, the issue of building automations based around segmentation and based around, tagging automations and things like that. I found it to be pretty lackluster in terms of what you can do as far as exclusions in your automations and your campaigns, as well as how to trigger those campaigns and build out conditional flows and really just make sure that your emails are going to the people that you want them to be going to when they're firing off automatically. For a very basic kind of bare bones email marketing platform, in terms of, doing regular sends and setting up, some basic automations and things like that, I think it's fine. It does the job. But in terms of really getting like deeper into things and building out a lot of automation and, making it really cool and user-friendly for you, I've hit more snags and more roadblocks using Aweber than I have in other platforms. So for that reason, I have been kind of wary of recommending it to anyone. So that is my take on Aweber. Hopefully that gives you some clarity on some of the things to be looking out for as you use it. Like I said, as you're starting out, it's not necessarily a bad starting point, but I found it to be kind of lacking as you get deeper into building out automations and really wanting to get segmenting with your list and, building out things like just kind of off the top of my head here, like building out like an unsubscribe, a re-engagement and unsubscribe automation is incredibly difficult to do in Aweber, to set it up so that it's happening after, the automation is firing based on how people are interacting with you in email marketing. It was like jumping through hoops to do something like that, which is, really simple to do in a platform like MailChimp or Drip. So yeah, hopefully that helps, man. I would say just, keep an eye on it as you're growing. And once you feel that you might be, getting to a point where you want to be building in more automations and really getting deep into segmenting your list, have an escape plan for getting out of it, unless they really see the functionality increase. One thing I will say about Aweber, though, to its credit, their support has been stellar. Now, granted, some of the accounts that I've been working on are, big email lists, so those higher pricing plans might have some premium tier support, but every time I've communicated with their support chat has been really, really solid. So to their credit on that, they've kind of killed it in that way. So hopefully that helps, man. let's see. Tommy says, hey, Tommy, what's up, man? Hey, Jack, hope you're well. Hey, man, I'm doing great. I hope you're well. I'm finishing up my new album, and as part of the deal for crowdfunders and pre-orders, I offer them a download before the CD is made. Just wondering what your preferred portal is for a secure download. I actually asked the Hive Mind, the rest of the team, about this because I have my thoughts, but I wanted to kind of poll everybody. I think the most secure way to do it that I like is setting up a product in Shopify using the digital downloads app, and then having that, sending out a link to that product and a 100% off discount code to those people that you want it only to be sent to. That's probably like the most secure way to do it. Other ways that I've seen are helpful are like a Dropbox link that's protected by a password. That's something that you could do. I'm old-fashioned and really simple about this sort of stuff, and Google Drive links, while they may not be the most secure and private for preventing leaks, is kind of like my go-to for stuff like that. Another thing that you could do is you could host the download link on a password-protected hidden page on your website. That's another opportunity as well. I think that, it's similar to doing like an unlisted video link or an unlisted or a hidden download link that it can be shared, but at least it has, a password protected barrier, and the same sort of thing with the Dropbox link. So those are a couple things. You could look to use a tool like WeTransfer, but obviously that's not as automated and as easy for mass sending as some of these other options. Depending on what your CRM is, you might even be able to upload and send out directly through your CRM. Your email marketing platform, something to potentially look into there, but that's kind of a plethora of options. Hopefully that helps, man. Just wanted to lay out all the thoughts and give you as much feedback as I could. I think Shopify is the definitely like the best bet, in my opinion. So that might be something to look into. Hope that helps. Marius said, hey, Jack, I'm stuck with my tech stack. Changed over from MailChimp to Drip for the CRM features just to learn that it won't integrate with Shopify when I'm using the Lite plan. I want to build my own storefront on my website, so I don't want to pay the extra fee for the full Shopify with an online storefront I don't need. Looking at ThriveCart now, but since there's no trial period, I want to check for surprises before I pay the lifetime fee. Will I be able in the long term to collect and manage all the customer data that is relevant in entrepreneur style marketing with the combination of Squarespace, ThriveCart, and Drip? Am I missing something? Will they integrate flawlessly? Hey, Marius, good question. ThriveCart and Drip do integrate very well. ThriveCart is great as a cart software for functionality for running checkout funnels and things like that. So you will be able to collect your customer information and get that integrated with Drip. That's a really solid option if you're trying to build out your own online storefront and not use Shopify. That's something to look into. That said, I mean, Shopify is a really great storefront, and being able to use something like the buy button where you can embed Shopify products directly into your website is a really solid option as well. And I mean, that extra fee for, in my opinion, that extra fee for integrating Drip and Shopify is dope. Like, it's not that much, and it's really worth it in my opinion. It's actually funny that you ask about this. We had moved a client over at IndieX over from MailChimp to Drip, and we had gotten them integrated with Drip and Shopify before they started instituting that fee. So we got we just limboed our way through it. And then like 2 weeks later, another client was doing the same thing, and they got hit with the fee. So I know the spot that you're in. That said, it is, I think it is worth considering Shopify as well. Just as you weigh out your pros and cons, don't negate it just for the sake of that build fee, or that integration fee, excuse me. So hopefully that helps, man. But just to come back to the depth of your question, ThriveCart and Drip do integrate very, very well. Just the same way that ThriveCart that Shopify and Drip do, just paying that little bit extra for that app. So yeah, man, hopefully that helps you out. Dan said, hey, Dan, regarding email best practices, I run a dueling pianos act, and we've recently set up a social distance request line so people can email us song requests on stage. Can I add these requesters to our list, or do I need a follow-up, proactive, consensual opt-in for future communication? Thanks. P.S. Y'all never talk about ConvertKit in the podcast or email training. Any experience or thoughts with it? Hey, Dan, good question, man. That is a really cool offer that you're doing. Really cool way to get opt-ins for sure. Emailing you song requests on stage. You can add those people to your list. I think like best practice here might be to do something like a double opt-in, like I don't usually like recommend that right off the gate or right out the gate. Like it's usually something that I actually discourage, like, sending an email after somebody opts in, asking them to confirm. But in these kind of cases, where they think they're just emailing in for a song request, you might want to follow up with some additional content, letting them know that they are on your list and that they could unsubscribe at any time if they don't want to, but really just like hit them with some value right in that initial follow-up email if you've got an e-series set up. I think something that could be cool is if you do a request line, if you're doing it social distance, so from the stage or from the live stream or whatever it is, you could let people know, like, request in and we will send you, and let them know, like, what are the extra things they're going to get when they request a song. So if you stack on, some extra value, maybe it's some like previous show footage of your dueling piano act, or something like that. That could be pretty dope, actually. A little bribe where you're saying like, hey, request in a song and we'll send you, maybe we'll pick it and we'll also send you XYZ, some content. Then you've got a cool permission bribe. People are giving you, they're giving you consent to email them with their request in, because they're also expecting to get something, and then you can nurture them towards staying on your list. If you don't want to do something like that, I would say send them an auto response email back, nurture it a little bit, let them know that they're going to be on your list, and if they don't want to be, they don't have to be, but bring them through an introduction series where you let them know a little bit more about what you guys do, give them some content, and give them the opportunity to opt out if they so choose. That would be the way that I would approach it. Hopefully that helps. I would say like low hanging fruit there is like make a cool offer out of it. Make it more than just requesting a song. Let them know like, hey, when you request a song, we're going to send you this, send you something. That makes it an even cooler offer and kind of takes out the cognitive dissonance of adding them to your list. So yeah, man, hopefully that helps you. I hope I don't butcher your name, Firas. Hey, how are you? Any advice? I wanted to touch on Dan's question real quick about ConvertKit. I can't speak to ConvertKit. I actually haven't used it. I do know that it's out there for email marketing, just haven't dove into it. So that's why we haven't talked about it on the podcast. Can't speak for the rest of the team, but I haven't personally used it. So I can't speak to it right now, but maybe I'll take a look and have some thoughts on it for y'all on a future Q&A or an audit session or a ground report. Firas said, hey, any advice on running a successful YouTube ad for a music video? I've been trying for 2 years and found little to no results. There's so much rubbish advice on how to run ads on YouTube. They fail to show any concrete results. Would love your input on it. Thanks. Hey, man, that's a great question. And it's funny that you ask because I was just talking with Circa about this yesterday. We've had a number of instances at IndieX when working with agency clients where we've been asked to run top of funnel YouTube ads for a music video or even a fan finder style video. And to be honest, oftentimes the results tend to look kind of like you're talking about here. They fall short. A lot of times the request that I see, or why we're being asked to run these is, I want to stack up views on my video. And I mean, you can certainly do that with YouTube ads. You could run YouTube ads on a YouTube video that lives on your channel and try to use it to stack up views for social proof or vanity metrics or whatever. But that's really the bulk of what it is. It's trying to get vanity metrics at that point, because you're not really being thoughtful about the kind of ad that you're running. Because when you run an ad on YouTube, it's interruptive marketing in the same way that running a Facebook ad is, except it's typically a pre-roll video ad. And when a music video comes up in your pre-roll, I've never, and I said this to Cirque yesterday, I've never gotten hit with a YouTube ad for a music video that made me watch, that made me click through. So I think that's part of the reason that YouTube ads or Google ads with the YouTube placement video ads on Google tend to fall short, is that there's not a lot of thinking going on behind the content that's being advertised. It's, I just want to put my music video in front of people. Well, you see plenty of talk about that, but when the results don't look good, a lot of it has to come down with what the content being advertised is. So that's kind of my input on what I've seen a lot of. It really kind of has failed to do the top of funnel work in terms of building awareness. Now, that said, I think that there is a case that YouTube ads for top of funnel could work well, so long as the content, the video that's being used is has a pattern interrupt and is working to really get people's attention and capture them. But when it comes to just running YouTube ads for music videos, you can see why it could fall short really fast. Music videos tend to, your standard kind of music video. When we talk about music videos, like things like, long narratives or a big extended intro or something like that, we talk about how those tend to not work super well for Facebook ads, at least for the introduction stage and fan finder campaigns, because, well, why would those people want to watch that if they don't know who you are? How will that capture their attention? The same thing applies to running ads on YouTube, potentially even more so, as it can be more and more expensive. So hopefully that helps. It's funny that you bring it up. So that's kind of my little brain dump. I think when it comes to running YouTube ads, like, my input for you would be to, if you want to run YouTube ads for top of funnel, for like a fan finder style campaign to build up awareness and introduce yourself to new fans, you really need to think critically about what kind of video you're going to be advertising and how you're going to get someone to actually want to watch when an ad is served to them pre-roll on a video that they're watching. Otherwise, like, it's going to just fall short, or maybe stack up some views on your music video, but that might be the best result that you derive from it. So yeah, I hope that helps and gives you a little bit of insight into my brain. Typically when that question comes up at the agency, if a client asks me about it, that's usually the discussion that we have about, what kind of content can serve you well when running a YouTube ad. And it's difficult. It's hard. It's I would argue that it's harder to come up with the right kind of advertisement for artists when using YouTube ads compared to what we do in the fan finder method on Facebook and Instagram. Greg said, "Yo, Jack." Yo, what's up, Greg? How's it going, man? I was running my permission campaign and it was not going well, so I thought maybe I hadn't educated my audience enough. I was just running it to my green light warmth audience, so I thought I'd retarget my 75% video viewers for my fan finder with a behind the song video about the fan finder, then target the 75% video viewers of that video with the permission offer. Thoughts on that strategy? Have you tried anything like this? Hoping to start running it tomorrow, but was curious about what you thought. Sounds good in theory to me, but shrug. Thanks, man. Hey, man, I've been seeing your permission ads. Actually, they're dope. I love your offer. I think the cocktails and the drinks is just super cool. So yeah, I want to just comment on the offer real quick. I dig it. So you mentioned that you've been running it to your green light warmth audience, but it seems like they're not educated enough, wanted to retarget 75% of your fan finder with a behind the song video about your fan finder, and then target the 75% of that video with a permission offer. Thoughts on that strategy? I think that that's a cool strategy. You definitely could start there. Something that I might suggest, or just consider as you're kicking it off. I think that that's a good place to start, because you're going with the warmest, the most engaged, or some of the most engaged viewers of your fan finder, your first fan finder. So retargeting them with a behind the song, and then targeting 75% of that video with the permission offer. The issue that you might run into, depending on what the volume of your audience is looking like, is your ads might not spend, you might not get a whole bunch of reach, and it might not get you the result that you want. So something to consider as you're testing this, because I've definitely seen this kind of thing work before, going with like a video ad funnel for education. But something to consider while you're doing this to help you make the most of your budget is potentially going with a lower metric off the bat. So you might want to consider doing either 25% video viewers of your fan finder with the behind the song. So you're warming up people who, are a little bit cooler, so to speak, when we're talking about temperature. They're a little bit cooler. And then from there, going with the 75%. Or if you have some more volume on your fan finder, depending on what that metric and that audience is looking like, you might go 75% of your fan finder to the behind the song video, and then 25% of that behind the song video to your permission offer. That way, one way or another, you're allowing people to funnel through, but you're not totally cutting it off. You're letting the follow-up videos do a little bit more of the work, and giving yourself, some volume of audience to work with. That would be my thinking. And if I were to pick one of them, I would probably say I would go with 75% retargeting to the behind the song, and then 25% of the behind the song to your permission offer. I would start there. Not knowing, you mentioned that it wasn't going super well, so this is kind of what you wanted to pivot to. Not knowing what super well means, like if your leads were just a little expensive, I think there's other considerations to make there, but based on this strategy, that's what I would recommend. Hopefully that helps you out, man. I think the theory is sound for sure. I think you could try it a number of different ways, but yeah, 75% retargeting to 75% retargeting is good if you've got a lot of volume. If you need more, I would say 75% and then retarget 25% after that, and see what you can do. Hopefully that helps you, dude. I'm just going to pop up to the chat here. Oh, cool. Oh, Seth said YouTube just has less data. You can retarget, but Facebook is so much more robust. I really don't like my results from YouTube. Views alone isn't worth much. There is the downside that with YouTube, the retargeting really isn't as robust, especially in terms of how you can, sequentially retarget on Facebook, based on video views percentages, like I was just talking about with Greg. You can't do that with Google Ads to the same degree of ease that you can with Facebook ads. So that's definitely a pitfall as well. Something that I didn't mention when I was talking before about YouTube ads, primarily because I wanted to focus on the content bit. But yeah, from an operational standpoint, it also has some drawbacks. So some things to think about. Billy said, looking strictly for benchmarks here, and I understand there are probably a million variables, but in terms of ad cost per email opt-in on a permission campaign, at what point would you turn it off? This could be in specifics like $5 is the max that I'll pay for an email address, or don't pay more than X% of the entry purchase value of a customer. A rule of thumb would be nice. I'm trying to determine when to make the choice to pause and edit ad campaigns for better performance. That's a good question, Billy. I don't know if you've been through the new permission training, but I do cover questions about benchmarks and measuring your success and optimizing your campaign in a lesson. And I go pretty deep into that. And one of the things that I talk about is when it comes to benchmarks, how, it's pretty difficult to be to give a strict benchmark on what a cost per anything should be, especially when it comes to a cost per email subscriber, without knowing, all of the specifics of what's going on with your campaign. That said, the kind of benchmark that I say to look towards is like $3 to $5 is like a range that we often see that is acceptable. And if you start to see, cost above that, you certainly could look to be optimizing. I don't think that you should necessarily be making that solely on, I don't think you should be making decisions solely on the cost per subscriber, although that is your main KPI. The reason I say that is because when you're diagnosing what's going on in an ad campaign, you really need to be looking at your other metrics as well. What is your cost per click? How does that impact your cost per lead? What is your landing page conversion rate? How is that impacting your cost per lead given your cost per click? So all of those things really come into play into how they affect your campaign performance and whether you should just turn things off and what you should be looking to optimize. So hopefully that helps. I would say look into that training for sure if you haven't gone through it, but I would say, $3 to $5 is kind of like a range of what I would say is acceptable. But I mean, I'm not drawing any hard lines in the sand about it because I've seen campaigns that have generated leads for much more than that and are still, working out great. A lot of that has to do with what's happening on the back end offer-wise, if there's even an offer on the back end. For example, I'm running an opt-in campaign right now for one of our artists at IndieX who is running some backyard shows, and we're getting email subscribers, form fills for around $9 per, but on the back end of that, he's getting signups for these backyard shows where he's charging $750 per show. So when each of those leads is worth that much money, it's not unacceptable to be getting them for $9. So all of that kind of comes into play, and that kind of plays into your question of like, don't pay more than X% of the entry purchase value of a customer. But it really comes down to all the specifics of your campaign. But I would say, like, benchmark wise, look at $3 to $5 as kind of like the starting point at where you should be looking at things, and then dive deeper into your other metrics to figure out what's working from there. So yeah, man, hopefully that helps you out. Nelson said, "Hi Jack, I have 2 questions. First, could you take a look at the opt-in video and landing page for a permission campaign we're running for our artist? Second, I started a Google Ads campaign where I'm running the above fan finder via video stream ads. I have 14 ad groups. Am I doing this correctly? Pick if this helps." Cool. Hey Nelson, how's it going, man? I will see if I can get back to these. I want to make sure that we get to all the questions, and this kind of falls more under what we would do in an audit session. But let me get through the rest of these questions, and I'll see if I can come back to your stuff and give you a little bit of an audit. If I can't, definitely hop on and bring this to one of our audit sessions on a Wednesday, and we'll take a peek. But let me see if I can get back to you. Let's get into the chat here and see what's up, because I feel like I'm leaving you guys, and I don't want to be missing out on anybody's questions. All right, dope. Oh, okay, cool. The team jumped in on the playlist in question. Awesome. Eric said, "Hey Jack, I put a couple questions on the INDIESLIVE page if you have time. Let me see if I can see them." Let's just reload this page real quick, shall we? Amanda said, "Man, I love this freaking company. Man, we love you." Thanks, Amanda. That's awesome. Really appreciate that. I'm looking for your questions here. Why can't I see all of the comments? This is really frustrating. Here we go. All right. Cool. All right. I think I've got everything good to go. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. James said, "Hey, James. How's it going? I'm at the start of my first fan finder and I'm about to target my lookalike audience. How do I turn the people who have liked and commented on my fan finder into potential customers, fans?" I would just start having communication with them. I would jump into the comments, let them know what you're up to. Start a conversation. Fan Finder is really good for getting that initial introduction happening, and for the people that are hanging around in the comments and liking, I would say first invite the people who have liked your video to like your page, and definitely get in the comments with the people who are on your fan finder. If you've got some kind of opt-in happening, some kind of permission campaign in place, whether that's a website opt-in for some kind of freebie offer, I would point them towards that. Even if you've got, it's not the optimal thing, but even if you've got some free downloads hanging out there, I would point people to that. If not, and you've got some recurring media in place, if you do regular live streams, I would point those people towards that. But ultimately, just start having those conversations and get active and engaged with those people, and that will move you towards turning them into fans and then customers. So that's what I would look towards, James. Hopefully that helps. Also, I would say, if you haven't already, dive into the permission training. That's the new permission training in Indie Pro, because building up your list will be an important next step. So if you're looking to think about, like, okay, how can I get these people to sign up to my list? How can I move them from a subscriber to a customer? Building up your list is the thing you're going to want to do, and you're going to need to build a great bribe to do that. So dig into that training if you haven't already. Since you're at the start of the Fan Finder launch, though, I would say just like get active and engage with those people. Make sure that you've got some content on your Facebook page, on your Instagram, for people to see, to dive into. For the people who kind of automatically are just attracted to you, the automatic buddies, give them some stuff to look out for. Get some recurring content in place, and I think you'll see it take off from there. Oh, Nelson, all good, man. No need to apologize. If I can dive into it, I absolutely will. Maxie said, "Hey, Maxie, so I'm mainly releasing music for a younger audience with a bit of a commercial hip-hop approach, but I have a Black Lives Matter speech that got me loads of organic traffic on Instagram and Facebook, as a lot of people reposted it. Now I've seen quite a lot of backlash from the All Lives Matter people just hating on my speech because it's pro-Black Lives Matter, so I'm wondering..." Sorry, Maxie, I'm diving through your comments here. "If I use that clip for a fan finder, would it make more sense to create a new ad account and run the fan finder there on a quote unquote separate channel, or should I not give a damn? I remember that Circa said we got to be careful what we feed our ad accounts with in terms of audiences, especially when we're retargeting and all. So let's say best case scenario, I get a hell of a lot of 75% video views, but they'll be mixed with love and haters, if that makes sense." Yeah, I totally know where you're coming from, Maxie. I would say something to consider is, I'm just reading through your comment again. Black Lives Matter speech that got me loads of organic traffic on Instagram and Facebook. Okay, yeah, here's what I would suggest for you, Maxie. I would suggest not using that video as your fan finder, straight up. I would say put together a fan finder that's spec to what we go over in the training. Use that to your front end. And if you have like a political bent to your music, that's all good. You can totally include that. But I would say, like, I would say put something together that's spec to what we talk about in the Fan Finder training. If you need to revisit the which videos work best lesson, that's a good place to start. I would say put that together and use that for your top of funnel introduction stage campaign, Fan Finder. And then if you do want to advertise your speech, something to be careful of is also, Facebook's stance on political advertising might get you into a struggle of even getting that ad approved. But what I would recommend doing is, if that's something that you want to advertise, I would say advertise it after the fact to your warm audience that you're building up off of the back of your new Fan Finder. And if those things are connected and it's something that's important to your artistry, I don't see a reason not to put that out to your fans. But if you want to discourage, unleashing paid cold traffic on a video that is going to get, or you've seen already get a lot of contested views from an opposing political sort of opinion, I would say don't run it as cold traffic. Run it to warm traffic, to the people that you are building up, that are your fans and are going to dig into it. So you could run that as like a green light warmth boost. But I would say be careful when it comes to political advertising. It can get you into kind of a mess when it comes to Facebook. But yeah, I would say go build a Fan Finder campaign that's spec. Don't necessarily just use something, a speech video, just because it got a lot of organic push and a lot of organic traffic. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right thing to use for your cold traffic awareness building. So hopefully that helps you. Yeah, no worries. I'm glad that it helped, man. Go get it. That's great. Let's get back into the rest of these here. Jessica said... Seth said I put something on the IndieSLIVE chat as well. Dope. I'll get to you guys in a second here. And Jessica said, hey, Jack, I put a question on Facebook Live. Should I put it somewhere else? No, that's all good. I'll come back to you guys on the questions on Facebook in a second. I'm just going to get through these. And hope you're well, Jess. Eric said they seem to have been taken off Facebook, which is ironic because I was basically asking if I might be running running into problems with Facebook. I think I might have you here, Eric. Let me look through. I'm looking for I don't see your question here, Eric. Feel free to drop it in the comments again, or if you want to pop it in this chat, that's fine too. Because it's weird that I'm not seeing it. But yeah, keep me posted. I'll keep an eye out for it. James, no worries. Eric said, basically wondering if I might run into trouble with my ad account filtering people based on certain political interest. It was a suggestion given to me by some indie members after my Fan Finder. I think my answer to Maxie might have answered this question for you, Eric. Really depends on how, what your Fan Finder is, and what kind of people it was attracting. I don't know the specifics of what you were getting at. So if you want to get into it a little bit more with me, I'm happy to try and diagnose it for you. Your ad account certainly could start to get seasoned with a certain kind of political bent, if you've run traffic on a piece of content or targeting people of a certain kind of political bent. That definitely could occur, in which case I would say, the immediate way to kind of start correcting that is to run top of funnel, another Fan Finder that's, not political, and really start trying to get in onto targeting there and see if you can hone your targeting to be more fit to the type of fan that you want to be reaching, based on, kind of what we outline in the Fan Finder method as far as targeting and setting that up. So yeah, hopefully that gives you some idea. I know that was a little vague. I see here you elaborated a little bit. Starting getting delivered a bunch of Confederate flag people for some unknown reason. I don't want to be mistakenly flagged for political content just by trying to redirect from that crowd. I don't think that you'll be mistakenly flagged for political content by trying to redirect from that crowd. Your targeting won't cause that to happen. Your content will. Generally speaking, like, your targeting isn't going to cause that to happen if that's how you're trying to redirect them away from that crowd. Hopefully that gives you some ideas of where to start, man. Seth said, if I reduce the age range, is there the potential for it to mess up my campaign on Facebook? Seth, what I would recommend doing if you want to reduce the age range is, for example, duplicate, if you're looking at like one ad set in particular, I would duplicate that ad set, tweak the age range there, turn on the new ad set, turn off the old ad set, measure your results, and see if that's I'm assuming you're worried about age range skew. I would do it in a separate ad set so that you can measure your cost per result as effectively as possible and see if it, fixes your problem. So I would do it by duplicating the ad set, adjusting, and then publishing. Eric said Fan Finder wasn't political. It's just a music video with me playing guitar on a rooftop. But for some reason, it was being delivered to a lot of certain people, and I was trying to direct away from those people. Yeah, if you're worried about your targeting getting you in hot water, you should be okay. Especially if your content isn't political in any way, which it apparently isn't. I would say just work your targeting a little bit there and see if you can get it away from that. As long as you're not like creating content that's heavily skewed in the opposite direction politically, to try and steer away from them, you're not going to get in political advertiser territory. At least to my knowledge. No guarantees there, but you should be all right. Let's get into these Facebook comments since you guys have been so patiently waiting. TJ, what's up? How's it going, TJ? TJ said, would love some strategies for building awareness. I'm doing all the normal stuff, Facebook ads, Fan Finder, etc. But my ideal fan is in a relatively small market. I run the danger of too much frequency when doing select targeting. Just curious of other pivots you've seen other IndieX clients make. Hey, TJ, that's a good question. Without knowing specifically what your ideal fan is or what you're trying to do, I would say look to create content in your fan finders that appeals to that kind of fan, more so than relying on the targeting to get you there. You said you're running into frequency issues. I'm wondering how much that really is an issue, because at the top of the funnel, like, frequency doesn't tend to be that much of a problem. So it really depends on how small your audiences are. But what I would probably recommend is like building content for your fan finder campaigns that really will speak to and appeal to your kind of customer avatar. And then setting up your targeting as broad as possible to hit that kind of fan, to really dive into what their interests are musically and even potentially beyond musically. What are their other interests? Start advertising there. Let the content do your targeting so that you're filtering down to your 75% video viewers being the people that are really, really engaged, and then building a lookalike off of that. So you're essentially building new targeting off of your lookalike audiences for this seemingly smaller subset of ideal fans. I would look to do that. I would also potentially look at, depending on what your audience size is looking like right now, I would look at doing things like email list lookalikes or Facebook page engagement lookalikes and testing that in your top of funnel as well, since you'll get like a sizable cold audience to work with, but it may be dialed in specifically to the type of fan that interacts with you the most at the deepest levels or the deeper levels of your business. So yeah, hopefully that helps. I think it's all about putting together the content that's going to speak to that specific kind of fan, and advertising that content, and then using the audiences built up from that top of funnel advertising to find more of those fans. Yeah. That's probably what I would recommend in the case of like niche sort of audiences. Hopefully that helps you, man. Jessica said, hey, Jack. Hey, Jessica. How's it going? I was looking forward to this session, too. Thanks for being here. I'm running a traffic campaign from Instagram stories to my Spotify, same one from the ground report, and I'm curious what numbers I should be aiming for in my ad set. What cost per result should I be aiming for? What percentage quality ranking should I be aiming for? I've never run a traffic campaign, so any help on running and managing would be super helpful. Hey, Jess. Cool. What I would say is I'm thinking across a number of different accounts that we've run, traffic, Instagram stories to Spotify at the agency. Typically what we see, kind of like benchmark wise, looking at cost per result, so cost per click, typically we see anywhere between like 3 cents to 7 cents is kind of like an average when running to green light countries. 3 cents to 7 cents per click is kind of like a benchmark average that we tend to see. So that's what I would say I would be looking for there. That would be the primary thing that I would be looking for. In terms of your quality ranking, I haven't seen anything super consistent when it comes to like benchmark wise. I haven't seen anything super consistent that I would say like, look for a certain percentage, to be honest with you. I'm mainly looking for, the main KPI being cost per click in this case. So I would say, just look for that. If your cost per click is high, or higher than what you would like it to be, then you could start looking at things like your quality ranking, or even like your video views, even though, they're relatively short videos or really short, kind of like static images. You could look at that as well, just to see if people are paying attention at all. But I would say like tracking your cost per click is probably the starting place that I would look at. And 3 to 7 cents has kind of been like the average, although it really does vary. So I would look that. Hopefully that helps you out. I'm glad that the ground report was helpful. If I have any other thoughts on this, and I can also kind of loop in Ed, since he was the mastermind of that ground report. If he's got any thoughts, I'll definitely pass them your way. Audrey said, hey, Jack, I'm preparing to launch a Christmas album. I don't want to share one of my songs just yet, as I'm reserving that for the album journey via my newsletter. So here are my questions. Could I sing a Christmas cover to lure fans in? Is it too early to be singing Christmas tunes in ads? If so, should I just do a standard fan finder and then pitch the interested parties my Christmas album when it comes time? Should I be focusing on Christmas-related tagging in my ads at this point, or just use the 14 audiences I put together in the training? For example, Christina Aguilera's fans who also like Hallmark Christmas movies. Thanks so much. Hey, Audrey. Cool question, and it's a cool album idea. I think it might be a little too early in the cultural consciousness for Christmas ads to really take off. I'm thinking specifically to the success that Small Town Titans saw with their You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch cover a few years back. Believe that video kicked off like right around a couple weeks before Thanksgiving. So like early November was really where that started to, be something that was, I feel like people are getting into the into Christmas consciousness. So it may be a little soon for running a Christmas cover as a fan finder. I would say work your standard fan finder, and then pitching the interested parties your Christmas album when it comes time. I think that's totally appropriate, because if you're getting fans from your fan finder, whether it's a Christmas tune or not, they're likely going to be interested in what you're doing. You could potentially look to warm those people up. If you started running fan finder traffic now, you could, as we get closer to the holiday season, start to warm those people up with a retargeting ad with your Christmas cover. That could be a cool way to kind of pre-frame them to start thinking that way. So you wouldn't be wasting, I don't think you would be wasting money if you went with a standard fan finder right now to start building up an audience. You totally could do that. And then you could retarget them later with the cover fan finder and do some cold traffic there. So I would focus on getting your fan finder in place. Use your 14 audiences that you put together in the training. I wouldn't be concerned too much with Christmas related targeting just yet. I think it makes sense just to start building up an audience and then getting them warmed up. If you have the ability to pre-frame them with a retargeting ad before you start pitching them opt-ins for the Christmas record, that's just a win-win. So that would be my thinking on it strategically. Hopefully that helps. Oscar said, "Hey Jack, I've been doing lives to cultivate my audience, but I'm starting to get out of content. Is it a good idea to invite other musicians or other people to make interviews, or just have fun?" I think interviews are really cool. I believe Jesse, Basic Printer, he has his Printer podcast where he hosts friends of his, other creatives, other artists, and his fans really like that. I think that that's a cool idea. I don't think that there's anything wrong with hosting the people that you really like. A podcast that recently came out that I dig a lot is the singer of Jimmy Eat World, Jim Atkins. He just put out a podcast that's called, I don't want to butcher the name. Let me Google it. I think it's called Pass Through Frequencies. Pass Through Frequencies. Yeah. He has a podcast that it's a songwriting podcast where he's doing interviews with other songwriters. It's broadcast on his YouTube channel. And it's super dope. He interviews other artists that he likes, people that he's worked with, interviews them, and has a really good time. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. If you can intermix it with your own content so that it's not only that. You said you're running out of ideas. Maybe you break it up so that one week it's just you, another week it might be a guest, another week it's just you, another week it's a guest. I would say look to where you could program that in so that you don't get pigeonholed in that way, because you'll inevitably start to come up with more of your own content that you want to have. Your creative well's not going to dry up, but I don't think it's a bad idea at all to invite other people on board. Lewis, you're the man. Thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate it. Clayton said, core branding. Is it better to start out as a grassroots artist with little to no branding, or to have a solid brand beforehand? I think if you can that's a good question, Clayton. I think having solid branding is really helpful. I don't think that you should let it stop you from moving forward and, putting things into place. Like if you were sitting here, if you were sitting next to me right now and you were like, Jack, should I build out a whole beautifully branded website and make sure that my graphics are perfect and make sure that I've done multiple photo shoots where I'm wearing perfect outfits that align with my brand before I run a fan finder? I would say absolutely not, but I think having a developing brand as you're starting to build up your audience for the first time, if you're just starting out, having some brand elements in place is important, and continuing to develop that as you go. Don't let it totally fall to the wayside, because it does come into play heavily, especially as you start to build your list and to put together offers that are going to resonate with your fans. Don't ignore it, but I don't think that it's not something that you should get totally hung up on. So it's not black or white. I think there's, a lot of gray area there. So hopefully that helps. I would say get some brand elements in place, but don't let it stop you from taking action on actually building a fan base. Raphael said, "Hi Jack, hope you're doing fine. Thanks a lot for this live." Hey, you're so welcome. Glad you're here. Question about landing pages. My website's pretty much constructed as a landing page. Would you recommend me to use my web page link in my opt-in campaigns, or do I really need a dedicated landing page, even though it'll look really similar? I definitely think that, I don't want to say black or white, yes or no, that you will or won't need a dedicated landing page, but I will say this. If you're making a dedicated offer, if you're making a dedicated offer and you don't want people to get distracted with things that are on your website and potentially experience funnel leak, and you're going to be advertising, I'd say definitely have a dedicated landing page for your offer, even if it does look very similar. I think that that's like the most bulletproof way, if there were one, to ensure that people don't land on a page and disappear kind of doing something else. That's the reason that the landing pages, opt-in pages are good for what they do, because they don't have distractions and website navigations and things like that. So even if your website is just constructed as a simple landing page, I would recommend having something separated and dedicated for your opt-in campaign. Not knowing all of the specifics, obviously, but yeah, hopefully that helps, man. That would be my boilerplate recommendation. Lauren said, if you spend $20 a day on your fan finder for a week, how much do you want to spend per day on a second video in the funnel, and when do you start that funnel? How much on each subsequent video in a funnel if you release them once a week? I really think that depends, Lauren, on what it is that you're trying to accomplish with that video ad funnel. If you're just doing retargeting for the sake of retargeting and educating people, that may not necessarily be the best use of your budget. Especially if you're a grassroots artist. But I would say, like, start out, if you are trying to do something like that, I would start out small. And if you're spending $20 a day on your fan finder for a week, I would say once you start to build up a volume of 75% listeners, viewers rather, I would start a second funnel. If you're, let's say you're starting a second funnel and you're testing a follow-up fan finder video or something like that, I would start that at a low spend of like $5 a day. Start there and see what the results are looking like. Same thing applies for if you've got a permission offer, an opt-in bribe that you want to start running traffic to. I would say start that at a low spend, targeting those people, and build it up from there. Also, with that in mind, check out the building your ad campaign lesson in the new permission training that talks about building up retargeting campaigns for opt-ins, if that's what you're thinking about, because it'll walk you through the process of how to set up that targeting, who to be targeting, and how to really kind of pull out the most results from it that you possibly can. Jessica, to follow up to your question, you said around 17 cents right now. Perfect. Thank you for all of this. Yeah, no problem. I hope that it helps. What I would say look to do is test out some more audiences if you can. Depending on your audience size, see if you can get some bigger audiences in place. If you're working with smaller audiences below like 500,000, you might just be running into an issue of audience volume. So that might, if you get some bigger audiences in place with some more broad targeting, that may help you get a cheaper cost per click. Something to look at there. Also looking at optimizing your creative. That's really important for kind of like the Instagram stories to anywhere sort of campaigns, is optimize your creative. Make sure that there's some kind of call to action, a swipe up call to action, a Spotify logo, something like that in your creative. That might also help to drive up your clicks and drive down your click cost. Something else to look at might be to add in some kind of hook or reasoning into that video. Something that we've seen people have a lot of success with when they're, for example, running like traffic to playlists is, putting a reasoning, like some people run like motivational Mondays or something like that. I know for one of our artists at IndieX, we were running like an inspirational sort of podcast, or not podcast, an inspirational Spotify playlist. So the creative that we put together really spoke to that kind of theme, and just kind of worked to drive the narrative home so that more people who were into that kind of thing would click. So I would look at optimizing your creative as much as you can, and working towards that, depending on what you're running it to. Hey, Justin, what's up, man? I'm glad you're enjoying listening. I'm glad you're here. I mentioned Facebook KPIs and mentioned cost per click being a good one. When I look at my data, I see cost per link click and cost per click all. Which cost per click is the one you're talking about, and should I remove one of these? What about cost per result? Is that an important KPI? Thanks again. Hey, Justin, depends on the kind of campaign we're talking about. If we're talking about like opt-in campaigns, for example, cost per result is definitely an important KPI. That would be your cost per lead or your cost per opt-in. So yeah, that's definitely important. When it comes to your cost per click and what you're wondering about, cost per link click is the clicks that are happening on your ad that are actually taking someone off the platform. So that's what you want to pay attention to when it comes to actually running. That's the one that you want to look to when you're actually trying to take people off the platform, and you want to be paying attention to that. That's the one that I was referring to. Cost per click all includes any kind of click that might have happened on your ad. So that could be a click to play your video, a click to scroll around your video, a click to expand your ad copy. So while that's a metric that you can look at, it's not the primary one to be paying attention to. So I was talking about cost per link click. I don't think you need to remove it from your columns. It's fine to have there. I actually use CTR all, the click-through rate all, to sort of measure how my ad creative is performing, and that can kind of play into the cost per click all. But yeah, cost per click, link click is the one that I was referring to. Lewis, I'm going to grab your question here. Lewis said, bouncing off Jessica's question, do you have any examples of hooks for running straight to a Spotify artist profile as opposed to a playlist? I don't have any that come right off the top of my head. I would say make sure that your creative demonstrates who you are. Get you in it, get your music in it. And if you can think to like, and this is just me brainstorming a little bit, like, let's say you were a country artist that is really kind of in that like outlaw country, red dirt country style. I actually don't know if those are the same things, so forgive my subgenre ignorance. But let's say you were in that kind of style, and that was sort of what you were going for, and you wanted to attract those kind of fans and get and use that as an angle or a hook. What you could do is, like, in your Instagram story video, you could have a little bit of text that says something along the lines of like I don't know, like, this is silly, but like music for people who like real country or something like that, or music for people who like tough country or something like that. So you can kind of work that in potentially both into the visuals of your creative and potentially into the actual like text if you've got text on your video. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Justin, happy to help you. Yeah, conversion campaign is you definitely want to be paying attention to your cost per result for sure. Well, I think that we covered everything here, man. You guys brought the heat with the questions today. Thanks for joining me. This was a blast. Really great questions. I hope that I was able to clear up misconceptions and get you guys on the right track. I know I didn't get back to Nelson's question here with your audit. So please, Nelson, drop those in the Indies group, in the Indie Pro group, and let everybody, let the whole gang chime in on what's going on. And feel free to drop them in an audit session as well when we have those coming up. Hope you guys are doing good. Hope that you enjoyed this session. I had a blast being here with you. I will catch you guys on another live. Peace out.